Chapter 1. Late September 1879. Beatrice inhaled, the crisp autumn air sharp in her lungs. She loved this time of year when the trees transformed the mountainsides golden, and the weather turned chilly. The cold temperatures made her want to hurry up and slow down all at the same time. She knew there'd be a lot of slowing down once winter hit, that infernal season that kept her inside more than she liked, caging her for months on end. If she lived somewhere else instead of the Colorado wilderness, she could trek out more, visit people, if there was anyone worth visiting, maybe even do some good in this world. But until she could convince her overprotective family to let her go, she would spend her winter pacing the small cabin, or sitting in her seat in the barn loft, dreaming of a different life. She sighed. "Stop being so dramatic. For land's sake, Beatrice. Just because you're named after a Shakespearean character, doesn't mean you have to act like one." Firestorm's ears twitched, and he turned his head to look at her from where he stood chomping on some grass. Beatrice waved him off, hating how the horse could give her a look that questioned her sanity. Most people would call her loco for thinking of her horse like that. Maybe she was a bit. But she and Firestorm were born of the same spirit, needing the feel of freedom pounding beneath their legs and rushing through their hair. She didn't know why he stayed with her. He certainly didn't allow any others to ride him, and he would only stand for a certain amount of injustice to his pride, before he'd toss himself around until he got what he wanted. Beatrice shook her head and smirked. Yep, they were the same spirit, that's for sure. One more winter. She would only be stuck in this isolated mountaintop for one more winter. She'd spent the summer scheming and researching. She'd read about Wild West shows being performed that showcased spectacular feats. She figured with her ability to shoot an arrow and hit any target she aimed for, and her proficiency with knives, she could easily get an act in one of those shows. She guessed it didn't hurt none that she had her mother's looks on her side. Viola often commented on how beautiful Beatrice was. Beatrice snorted. It didn't matter one lick to her, but she guessed if her looks helped her get her dreams, she wouldn't scorn it. Once she was accepted into one of these shows, her dreams of traveling the world and seeing new things besides the front and backside of a mountain would come true. It was right at her fingertips if she could just hold out one more winter. Beatrice left Firestorm to graze on the browning grass of the little meadow, and ambled through the woods. She indulged in her daydreams, and let her mind wander to the different tricks she'd been practicing in her spare time. Though with Hunter and Viola off exploring the state for the last few months, her spare time had been limited. The homestead took a lot of work to ready for winter. Lately, she wondered if the two would make it back before the snow fell. She hoped they'd be smart and not get there too late, risking getting snowed in somewhere with her baby nephew. Beatrice loved that they had left, so Hunter could experience a different Colorado than what he was used to. 2 summers before, God had miraculously brought him back in time over 150 years, just when they had needed him the most. Beatrice still reeled at that, even after more than a year had passed. She'd always fantasized about her own father's story of God transporting him to Pittsburgh where he met her mother. Then to have Hunter show up out of nowhere had her mind whirling with possibilities. Since meeting her new sister-in-law Samara a few weeks before, whom God had dumped in Orlando's path, Beatrice hated to admit she'd been peeking under bushes and down ravines a bit more than normal, searching for the man God would send to her. But she couldn't bank on that. With her being the only sibling who craved those stories, she'd likely be the only sibling with an utterly normal, mundane life.